Jaya Bhakti Vinod Thakur Bhakti Vinod Bhakti Vinod Thakur Bhakti Vinod. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bolo. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Ladies, please, Matajis, Matajis. I can't hear you. Okay, Prabhu. All right. Okay, Matajis, one more time. That's better. Prabhu's. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare. Hare Rama. Hare Rama. Everybody. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Jaya Bhakti Vinod, Jaya Bhakti Vinod, Bhakti Vinod, Jaya Bhakti Vinod. Jaya Bhakti Vinod, Jaya Bhakti Vinod, Bhakti Vinod, Jaya Bhakti Vinod. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Chila Prabhupada. Jaya Gurudeva, 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 Jaya Gurudeva. Jaya Gurudeva. Go Premanandi, Hari Hari Bo. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Padavikacharya Atstatara Satta Sri Srimad. His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Padavikacharya Atstatara Satta Sri Srimad. His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gogopinath Shaima Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Shri Mayapur Dhama Ki Jai. Jamuna Mai Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Grantha Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Yuga Dharma Harinam Sankirtan Yagya Ki Jai. Holy Appearance Day of His Divine Grace, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur Ki Jai. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur Ki Jai. Gaur Premanandi. Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai. Transcendental Prasadam Distribution Ki Jai. Gaur Premanandi. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai. Sri Haridas Thakur ki jai. His Holiness Chandramouli Maharaj ki jai. Just some quick announcements before we'll have class by His Grace Nityananda Prabhu. So just some slight adjustments to the schedule for today. So shortly we'll have class after announcements. Then we'll have a little break. And at 11 o'clock, we'll begin again with reading and class by His Grace Nanda Braja Prabhu here in the temple room. At 11:45, we will have at 11:45 we will do kirtan and boga offering. The boga offering will start around 12 once it comes up, but we'll start preparing for the boga offering around 11:45 and do kirtan during that time. And that will go on until 12:15. And at 12:15, we will have Pushpanjali. At 12:30, we will have Arti and Guru Puja, and then at 1 o'clock, we'll have a sumptuous Prasadam feast. And today is also the disappearance day of Srila Haridas Thakur. Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai, as well as the Vyas Puja celebration of His Holiness Chandramouli Maharaj. His Holiness Chandramouli Maharaj ki jai. And we're also dedicating our festivities and programs today to His Grace Rupa Nuga Prabhu, who is undergoing surgery this morning, and to the continued recovery of His Grace Murlidhar Prabhu, who had an extensive surgery about a week ago. So we just ask Srila Prabhupada and Sri Sri Radha Kalachandji and all the devotees to please pray for these wonderful devotees so they may recover fully and we may be blessed with many more healthy years of their association. Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravana Chari Yamuna Tiravana Chari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Brinda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Brinda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Brinda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Brinda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Brinda Hari Bol, Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Nitai Gauranga Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Jaya Vaishnava Thakur Srila Prabhupada. Vaishnav Thakur Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Vaishnav Thakur. Jaya Bhakti Vedanta Prabhupada. Bhakti Vedanta Srila Prabhupada. Jaya. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Bhakti Vinod Thakur Bhakti Vinod. Bhakti Vinod Thakur Bhakti Vinod. Jaya. Jaya Haridas Thakur. Jaya Haridas Thakur. Haridas Thakur. Jaya Haridas Thakur. Jaya Haridas Thakur. Jaya Guru Deva, Guru Deva, Guru Deva, Jai Guru Deva. Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Evam Vishnupad Paramansa Privraj Gacharya Stotarsta Shri Shrimad. His Divine Grace, Srila Bhaya Charanar Vindam, Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Jai Thakur Bhakti Vinod Ki Jai, Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Mahapurana Ki Jai, Shri 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 Chaitanya Charitamrita Ki Jai, Srimad Bhagavad Gita Yatharupa Ki Jai, Shri Shri Radha Kalachanji Ki Jai, Shri Gaura Bhakta Brinda Ki Jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to you, Srila Prabhupada. Please repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Thank you. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vanchakalpa Turubhascha Kripasndhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhya Vaishnavebhya Namo Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pesthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesh Shanyavadi Paschati Deshatarine. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivas Adigaura Bhakta Brinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jai Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki Jai. Srila Haridas Thakur ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. So these last number of days, yesterday we celebrated Radha Govinda's boat festival. Yesterday was also the appearance festival for Srila Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj. And yesterday we also did an installation of Srimad Bhagavatam in Little Elm up in the north. Speaking about tomorrow, which is actually Bhadra Purnima, when in the Srimad Bhagavatam it is stated that if one installs Srimad Bhagavatam or obtains Srimad Bhagavatam and places them on a throne, then that person will surely enter into Goloka Vrindavan. And those who donate get similar benefits as well. And today, and then yesterday, we also celebrated Srila Vamanadev Thakur's, Srila Vamanadev, the Lord Vamanadev's appearance day. And of course, we broke the fast also yesterday for the Ekadasi that happened the day before. It was also very, very auspicious Ekadasi. And now today we're celebrating the Holy Appearance Day of Srila Chandramouli Maharaj Ki Jai, and also the Disappearance Festival for Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. And of course today we're also celebrating principally the Holy Appearance Day of Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. So Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, speaking a little about, because leading up to Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, speaking about Srila Haridas Thakur, was born in a Mohammedan family. Very unlikely arrangement normally that someone from a Mohammedan family would take to a process that is so deeply Krishna conscious. The Hindus themselves didn't have such deep understanding of the holy name and chanting the holy name, so much so that he became the Acharya of the holy name. And Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu personally saw to it that the last rites were performed by him personally. That's actually a very amazing story in itself about Srila Haridas Thakur. Srila Haridas Thakur also did some very amazing things in his life. One that comes to mind that I found very amazing was that he initiated Mayadevi. He initiated. Mayadevi is generally considered a person who brings about so many impediments in the life of a devotee. And yet, he personally initiated her. She took initiation from him. Actually tells us his preeminent position as a devotee. Such an amazing, amazing devotee, such a humble devotee. He wasn't even allowed to enter into the temple of Lord Jagannath. So he would pay his obeisances to the chakra, to Lord Jagannath. Of course, Lord Jagannath gave him the greatest of all darshans. Even though he wasn't inside the temple, he actually got the best darshan of Lord Jagannath. So much so that he became known as the Acharya of the holy name. And today we celebrate him as the Acharya. And today is his disappearance festival. Whenever there is a disappearance of any personality, the focus for the devotee is to commit oneself to the instructions, the life and teachings of that devotee who left the planet. And so today we rededicate ourselves to the holy name, to chanting the holy name, to actually celebrating Lord Gauranga Mahaprabhu's importing Golokara Premadhana Shri Harinam Sankirtan from the spiritual world. That is the greatest of all things that ever happened in this world, that the most powerful wealth of the spiritual world and of Goloka Vrindavan, none other than Goloka Vrindavan, the origin of all, was imported by Gauranga Mahaprabhu to this planet. And so we became the most fortunate that now we can actually practice Golokara Premadhana Shri Harinam Sankirtan. And the Acharya for the chanting is Shri Haridas Thakur. So we're very, very fortunate that today is his disappearance day. And on his disappearance day, we're also celebrating the appearance of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who for us is the greatest preacher in modern times, because he's the one who brought out the science of Krishna consciousness to the West. First books in English were written by him and placed in very prominent universities around the world. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur himself, in the spiritual world, is a Manjari. And Manjaris are very, very advanced devotees of Krishna. And so it is no wonder that when he wrote his books and he sang his songs, that they were very deep in Krishna consciousness, extremely deep in Krishna consciousness. And one that I wanted to speak about from today was one of his final writings, which is called the Sri Sri Swaniyama Dvadasakam, which means self-imposed regulative principles. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur imposed 12 principles in his life that he considered self-imposed, meaning that he crafted these principles, and it's very good to know these principles because really this is the essence of Krishna consciousness. We really want to go very deep into Krishna consciousness, which is what Lord Krishna wants us to do, so much so that we will preach this science to others boldly. In the 4th canto, Srila Prabhupada makes a very amazing statement about how we can control the modes, because the modes cannot be controlled. There's no way you can control the 3 modes of nature. On Janmashtami, I was speaking about the 3 ladies who control the 3 modes. In the 4th canto, Srila Prabhupada says that if you want to control the modes, then you have to constantly speak to non-devotees. Constantly speak to non-devotees. Because when you constantly speak to non-devotees the science of Krishna consciousness, you will become advanced in your Krishna consciousness because of the fact that unless you have purity, there's going to be very little effect in speaking to these persons. And these non-devotees actually will challenge and say that whatever we're speaking is not the highest knowledge, that they have better knowledge than us, the technology is better, this, that, and the other. And we can see how in this world today, people are so caught up in material life. There's so much in trying to enjoy material life, and it's so attractive that even devotees sometimes get involved in their programs because they're so attractive in their dancing, their singing, like that. So these are all traps for us. The 3 major traps for us are Dhanam, Janam, and Sundaram, that we get trapped into having some desire for wealth, some desire for followers, some desire for enjoying our senses with other people. So yesterday in a class that Srila Prabhupada was speaking, he was saying that even if a devotee is offered money even if a devotee is offered profit for his or her service, the devotee actually does not accept the profit, because the devotee is so focused on Krishna that even though bhukti and mukti, bhukti meaning enjoyment and mukti meaning liberation, and even if Lakshmi comes to serve the devotee is not interested, because the devotee is so focused on Krishna. And so this type of mood is the mood that Bhaktivinoda Thakur actually had. So in the 12 verses, I'm not going to read the Sanskrit because Sanskrit is quite long, but I'm just going to go into the English translation so that, for brevity, so that we can go through all the 12 verses. In the first verse, he talks about the objects of devotion, birth after birth. This is something very important that we should understand. It's not that we aspire to go back to the spiritual world. That is not the highest aspiration. The reason being that Srila Prabhupada says, neither do we seek material benefits, material enjoyment, nor do we seek spiritual enjoyment. We don't ask the Lord so that we can be materially happy or spiritually happy. Even spiritually happy, we're not interested in either of those happinesses. What we are interested in is Krishna's happiness. So we're so focused on Krishna's happiness that we're ready to come back to this world, birth after birth after birth, whether it is in the heavenly planets, the middle planetary systems, or the lower planetary systems. Makes no difference to us. This is the mood that he talks about in the objects of devotion. So how does that happen? So he says, no matter whenever and wherever I happen to take birth, let my loving affection and attachment remain unshaken throughout each and every lifetime for the following things. And then he lists the things that we should be very attached to and remain unshaken. No matter what's happening around us, what's happening to us, what's happening around us, we remain unshaken. The first, he says, is that we should be always very attached to our divine spiritual master. Secondly, Shri Gauranga Mahaprabhu. Then he says, for the detailed topics of pure devotional service and the methods of its execution as personally instructed by Gauranga Mahaprabhu. So again, pure devotional service really means we're not interested in seeking any type of pleasure, material or spiritual. We're simply interested how we can please Krishna and how we can please Krishna's devotees, how we can please Gauranga Mahaprabhu and his devotees, his associates and devotees like that. Then he says the next thing we should be very attached to is the holy places of pilgrimage, such as Sri Navadvipa, Sri Kshetra means Jagannath Puri, Sri Vrindavan, etc., which are all blooming with divine sanctity due to his performance of wonderful pastimes therein. This is something that Prabhupada speaks about in terms of what is Krishna consciousness. Srila Prabhupada describes that the meaning of Krishna consciousness is that one always lives with Krishna on that spiritual plan, Golok Vrindavan, and that one is simply waiting to give up this material body. So this idea of always living in Golok Vrindavan means that all day long we should be absorbed in the pastimes of Krishna. Always be thinking of some pastime of Krishna. And in that thinking of that pastime of Krishna, it is amazing how whatever we're doing in this material world will become a lot better anyway. No matter what it is, whether it's our job, our service, whatever else we're doing, will become amazingly great. So that's what pure devotional service means. And then he says the next thing we should be very attached to is for the Diksha mantra bestowed upon me by the divine grace of my spiritual master. So for us, the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, which is our Diksha mantra, is actually something that we're very, very attached to. And it is said that when we are chanting Hare Krishna, for devotees, it is important for devotees to remain in the pastimes while they're chanting, so that the mind is not going here and there and everywhere. The mind is fixed on Krishna like that. This is why Krishna Katha is very important. Then he repeats that by saying, for the holy name of Sri Hari. So the Maha Mantra and all names of Krishna, we are very, very attached to them. And then he says, for the most beloved eternal associates of the Lord is never separated from his associates. So with Krishna, we have Radharani, we have Lord Balaram, with Gauranga Mahaprabhu, we have Lord Nityananda, Lord Advaita, Lord Gadadhar, Srivas Thakur, like that, Lord Gadadhar Pandit, like that. So always very, very attached to these beloved eternal associates of the Lord. Lord Nrsingadev, Ananta Sesha, like that. And then he says, for the sacred days of celebration throughout the year, such as Sri Ekadashi, Sri Janamastami, Sri Radha Astami, and the appearance and disappearance days of great Vaishnava Acharyas. All of these we should be very, very attached to. Then he says, for the Lord's dearmost devotees who strictly follow in the sacred footsteps of Sri Rupa Goswami, for those who are Rupanugas. And finally he says, for the holy scriptures narrated by Srila Shukadev Goswami, such as the Srimad Bhagavatam, etc. So these are the things that we are very attached to. Then in the second verse he says, he talks about the internal identity of Lord Chaitanya, the eternal guide. He says, the Supreme Lord Krishna, the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, is the personified abode of all divinely ecstatic mellow tastes. And Sri Radhika is the topmost abode of all his divinely potent energies. Indeed, she is the personified form of the highest mellow of love in separation. Within the forest of Vrinda, which is gloriously rich in the all-pervading treasure of the sweetest Madhurya Rasa, this Lord Sri Krishna is continuously enjoying as he makes Sri Radhika happy by his loving service rendered to her 24 hours a day. This very same Lord Krishna is exactly identical to the son of Mother Shachi, who eternally lives simultaneously yet separately in Gaudadesha as the instructor of the process for rendering his own service. May this Sri Sachinandana become my supreme master and guide, and may he always appear to me just to lead me on the proper devotional path, birth after birth after birth. So this is something that's very, very important to us. And then the third principle he talks about is rejection of things unfavorable for Sri Radhakrishna's eternal service. There he says, let no form of so-called renunciation or asceticism become fit for my acceptance if it does not give rise to the continual expansion of my eternal serving mood of loving devotion. This is also, by the way, the essence of the Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita can be placed in one statement, which means that the purpose of life is to always engage in the loving devotional service of Sri Krishna, joyfully, tolerating all kinds of impediments. So the first part is this very part, that we should always be in continual expansion of our eternal service mood of loving devotion. Keep expanding it. And let no form of so-called knowledge or intellectual cultivation appeal to me at all if it does not admit the reality of eternal individuality shared by the Lord and his devotees during their everlasting daily pastimes. That means that we should always consider ourselves individually a devotee of Krishna. So that means that our individuality must be used in his service. This is where a very important part of chapter 3 of Bhagavad Gita comes in, that Krishna wants to taste our love for him according to our personal nature. Each and every one of us has a particular nature. We should actually serve him according to that nature. And it is that the spiritual master is one who understands the nature of a devotee, his disciple, or her disciple, and actually engages that devotee according to that nature. This is what Krishna is wants of us, and this is what Bhaktivinoda Thakur is repeating here. And he says, in our everlasting daily pastimes, every day this should be true for us. I have no desire at all for practicing any branch of the eightfold yoga process, for none of them contain any scope for enjoying the daily pleasure of serving Lord Hari, such as his confidential worship does. Rather, may I render profuse, uninterrupted, confidential service 24 hours a day to Shri Radha Kalachandji for all of time and to come, in all of time to come, such service being the means as well as the ends. So this is for us a very, very important point. Always we should be meditating on Shri Radha Kalachandji and thinking to ourselves, what can I do to serve him more, serve him more, serve him more? And to gain that mood is why we think of the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. Because in the pastimes, we get the wonderful clues of how Radharani becomes happy serving Krishna and how we can become the servants of the servants of the servants of Radharani. This is why the Manjaris are considered the greatest of all servants, because they consider themselves the servants of the servants. And then in the next verse, he speaks about where to live and where not to live. He says, may I continuously reside in a small, lonely cottage at the base of a desire tree in the most holy abode of Sri Navadvip Dham, which is sanctified by the lotus feet of Sri Sachinandana. Such a bhajan kutir is perfectly suitable for constant remembrance of and service to the divine daily sports that are always present in Sri Brajadham. Instead, in contrast to this, I will never live in any other place, even if it is banqueted for with great enthusiasm by the most wise sages and demigods of all sorts. Sometimes we get misled by people who are advanced in spiritual knowledge, and these are great sages. And of course, the demigods themselves are very powerful, but we should never be interested in their pronouncements. We should always be interested in the words of the pure devotees. As far as all other places in this world are concerned, whether opulent palaces or temples, whether possessing vast riches of enormous wealth or princely kingdoms and property, all such places cannot attract me as much as my modest bhajan kutir in Sri Navadvip Dham does. So first, we're very fortunate that Srila Prabhupada set up this temple, and this temple is actually a petal of Vrindavan. So having a small house or any residence in this dham is considered to be most fortunate. We can't be more fortunate than that. If we just stay focused on our love for Radha Kalachandji and serving cooperatively with the other devotees, all the best results will actually happen. The very best results will happen. I remember one time one of my god sisters was leaving her body, and she was in Vrindavan actually. And Gurudev asked her to fly to Dallas so that she'd leave her body in Dallas. It's amazing. I mean, most people thought, hey, come on, leaving your body in Vrindavan? What can be better than that, right? And she had a house in Vrindavan. She had a place that she owned in Vrindavan. And yet, Gurudev asked her to come to Dallas. Why? Just to teach us this point, that we have no idea how fortunate we are to live in Sri Kalachandji Dham. We have absolutely no idea. And so here, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is bringing home this point in a very strong way in the 4th verse. And then in the 5th verse, he talks about the real principle of dharma, which is devoid of designations. He says, I have no attachment at all to any of those caste divisions of society, such as Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra. And I certainly do not identify with any order of life, such as Brahmacharya, Grihastha, vanaprastha or sannyas. I have no fondness or respect at all for the so-called piety of religiosity, or even for the so-called impiety of sinful life in this world. Not even the slightest regard. Instead, I truly desire what is practically required just to maintain this material body in order to facilitate my performance of pure devotional service. This is the actual righteousness that I will hope for as long as this material body continues to exist. See how much this is available to all of us? Yesterday, when we were doing the installation of Srimad Bhagavatam, one of the verses that came up was that Srimad Bhagavatam wants to be read by everyone. Srimad Bhagavatam itself, who is described as the exact image of Sri Krishna, wants that everybody read the Srimad Bhagavatam. Why? Because these are the points that come out in the Srimad Bhagavatam. That we do not need anything else. We already have everything that we need. Being in Kalachanji Dham, we have everything we need. There is nothing more that we need. We shouldn't be aspiring, oh, may I have more of this, more of that, and then I'll be happier, I'll serve better. Absolutely not true at all. We already have everything. In fact, we have more than everything. All we need to do is sincerely prosecute our Krishna consciousness with all of our heart and soul, with total love, according to our nature, towards Radha Kalachanji, the deities on the altar, Srila Prabhupada, and the devotees in this dham. All of the best results will come. And this is actually a blessing. In the 13th verse, Bhaktivinoda Thakur blesses that this will happen if we listen to these instructions that he is giving to us. Then he says in the 6th verse, favorable, authorized practices and devotional qualities. What is favorable? He says, my austere vow. See, when you take vows, sometimes those vows can be a little austere, right? He says, my austere vow is constant devotion to the lotus feet of Sri Hari, Radha Kalachanji. In order to execute that vow, I have accepted the following qualities by my own endeavor. These are the qualities we should aspire for. Number one, I practice great humility in all my dealings with everyone. All my dealings with everyone. Great humility. Number two, I try to keep simplicity and purity prominent in all my practical arrangements. Don't complicate life. Keep it simple. 3, I maintain extreme tolerance in all types of favorable and unfavorable circumstances. This is very important. In fact, 4 qualities really make us great devotees. 1 is having compassion for all living entities. 2 is tolerance. And here he's talking about extreme tolerance. 3 is attachment to the holy name. And 4 is reading scriptures scrutinizingly. So scrutinizingly that you feel like you're in the scene yourself and you can notice it happening around you. So now you can remember it when you're chanting, when you're living your day. So other thoughts don't enter your mind. The only thoughts that enter your mind is what is happening in Krishna Katha, in Gora Katha. Then there'll be no issues, right? Then you won't be worried, oh, who's going to become the next president of the United States of America? What's going to happen between the war between these 2 countries? What's going to happen in terms of my relationships which might have some problems and issues? All those things will not cause us any type of consternation. So extreme tolerance. Extreme tolerance. Next he says, I offer all respect unto others, regardless of who they are. All respect to others, regardless of who they are. This is something in the Srimad Bhagavatam that comes out very clearly too. Lord Krishna says, I will not give devotion to anybody who insults or who offends any living entity. Doesn't say offending devotees. Doesn't say offending human beings. It says offending any living entity. Then Lord Krishna says, I will not give devotion to that person. My devotion to that person. This is in the section on pure devotional service in the Srimad Bhagavatam. How important these statements are. Always be very respectful unto all persons, regardless of who they are. Number 4, next one. I feel genuine compassion for all living entities and act accordingly. He says, there are many transcendental activities which are recommended by great devotees. Remember, he's talking about transcendental activities recommended by great devotees who are fixed up in unalloyed devotional service to the lotus feet of Sriman Mahaprabhu. And these can be found described in the books that are full of the imperishable character and pastimes of Gauranga Mahaprabhu, Sri Krishna Chaitanya. Only such transcendental nectarian activities being recommended by great devotees and practiced by Lord Chaitanya himself are indeed my own. Only those ones become our own. In the 7th verse, he talks about repulsion from those things which are disconnected from Sri Radhika. So this is something very important in life. There are 2 things in life that we should be very, very attached to. One is attraction and the other is repulsion. We should always attract things that are favorable and repel things that are unfavorable. So he's talking about repulsion here, of those things which are disconnected from Sri Radhika, because we are actually Radharani's servants many times removed. That's why we're called Gaudiya Vaishnavas. So he says, I have no attraction for living in Vaikuntha, that part of the spiritual sky presided over by Sri Sri Lakshmi Narayana. Nor do I desire useless activities of gross sense gratification in this material world. I will never cherish the desire for attaining the divine bliss of impersonalistic liberation, even for a second. Furthermore, there are many transcendental pastimes of Sri Hari, transcendental pastimes of Lord Krishna, that may be very purifying for all conditioned souls, yet such pastimes will never ever give me any real happiness at all. This is because such pastimes are quite different from the blissful ecstasies of Braja consciousness, being completely devoid of any relationship with Radharani. Anything that we do must have some connection with Radharani, who is the one and only fountainhead of pure joy. She is the one and only. This is why Srila Prabhupada said, whenever we come to the temple, we should pray to Radharani. She is the person who will make all arrangements for us. And in our temple, she's very fortunate. She's put her hand out like this, say, I am here. Do not worry. I will take care. Then in the 8th verse, he talks about renunciation of all kinds of bad association. He says, I now disown, and then he lists the people he disowned. Now, it may sound a little strange when he says things. Please don't mind him saying it, because he's really a very, very pure devotee of the Lord. So sometimes you might say, how can we say that? But if you hear carefully, you'll see he's not saying what you think he's saying. Okay? So he says, I now disown, number 1, my wife. Number 2, my daughters. Number 3, my son. Number 4, my mother. Number 5, all my friends. Then he says, if they have no genuine attachment for Krishna. So this is his point. Everyone that we associate with in our family, somehow or the other, we interest them to become Krishna conscious. Now in our case, we're very fortunate that our family members are Krishna conscious. Right? So how much we should love them and take care of them so nicely, because that is actually our process. By the way, it continues. He says, if they have no no genuine attachment for Lord Krishna, or for his devotees, or for his devotional service, like that. So obviously, if they are attached to you and you're a devotee, then even if they're not a devotee, it's okay, so long as they're attached to you, or they attach to some form of service to Krishna. It is definitely a great sin even to accept food grains prepared by such non-devotional, materialistic sense gratifiers. Now, this is an important point. Our temple is rising too now, right? I've noticed that since Nrsimha Rupa has become our temple president, that now we're talking about, even at Sunday feast and other festival days, that we do not have items in our offerings to people who come and eat at our temple that actually are not falling into these, that fall into these categories, that are prepared by people who are not devotees. And for us, certainly, it is really a bad idea to eat anything that is not actually prepared by devotees. If I were to remain in the company of such persons, then how will eternal perfection of my Hari Bhajan ever come about? It's a little like we're throwing water on a log that we've lit. We want the log to become a blazing fire, and then we throw water on it. This is what happens when we eat food that is not offered by, not prepared by devotees and offered to Sri Krishna. It's better to fast. 9th verse. Avoidance of so-called devotees who proudly neglect Srimati Radharani. Avoid them. If they neglect Radharani, we're not into it. We're away. He says there are certain persons who appear to be very advanced in devotion. Indeed, to increase their service to the Lord, they have long since rejected the evil company of, number one, those who are completely blinded by faulty arguments arising from so-called intellectual logic. Number two, those who are madly addicted to the fleeting pleasures of the dull material body. Number three, those who are averse to and envious of Lord Sri Krishna. Number four, and those who are very fond of the inferior, distasteful concept of liberation as it is cherished by the impersonalists. They have thus favorably avoided all kinds of bad association. Yet it is seen that such persons worship Lord Govinda without Srimati Radharani being present. This just shows that they are actually puffed up with excessive pride and conceited arrogance directed against Sri Radhika, who is herself the best worshipper of Govinda. Therefore, I will never ever go anywhere near such so-called devotees, even for a second. This is my strict vow. And then in the 10th verse he says, how to live simply and perform Brajadhama until Brajabhajana until death. How to live simply. He says, passing my life in a simple, practical way. Number one, eating only prasada food grains and milk products, the remnants of the Supreme Lord, His mercy. Number two, wearing only prasada cloth that was offered to the deity. By the way, there's a way to do that. When you ever wear something new, the first thing you do is touch it to your head, you offer it to the Lord, and then you wear it. You offer it to the deity, and then you wear it, no matter what it is that you're wearing. So they become an item that is prasada. Number three, using only the pots and utensils sanctified by the Lord's exclusive service. Next one, I will thus remain completely aloof from material sense gratification. Living by the side of Sri Radhakunda, for us, Kalchanji Dham, Radhakunda is her own abode, Radharani's own abode, worshipping the divine couple with a blissful mind, the time will come for me to die. At the soles of the devotees' lotus feet, who are themselves serving the lotus feet of the divine couple, I will thus give up my body. That's what happened to the God sister. She came here, and then the devotees were around her, chanting nicely, and at the soles of the devotees' lotus feet, she left her body, thinking about Radha Kalachandji. This is the greatest advancement that we can make, because the purpose of life is to die thinking about Krishna. Just like the purpose of going to school, university, is to sit the final exam. The final exam is your purpose. So our final exam is death. 11th verse, he says, how to worship the lotus feet of Sri Radhika's pure devotee. There he says, he says, there is a class of pure devotee who is completely expert and experienced in following all the instructions of Sri Satchidananda. Such a devotee incessantly worships Srimati Radharani exclusively, who is indeed the most worshipable personality and who is deeply absorbed every day in relishing the divine mellows of Sri Krishna's association. The pure devotee of this caliber definitely performs his confidential worship wholeheartedly and with exclusive surrender unto Sri Radhika. Thus he always lives in Sri Brajamandala. I shall take the nectarian water that has washed the lotus feet of such a devotee and carry it on my head. Drinking it with great joy and with a devout heart, I will then happily offer my full prostration upon the ground in the nicest, most perfect way that I possibly can. This will indeed be my routine each and every day. And then in the 12th verse he says, firm determination to transcend Maya by daily following this stava. He says, as a spirit soul, my natural tendency is to be eternally situated in the loving devotional service of Sri Hari. However, due to the strong power and influence of the Lord's Mahamaya, I have somehow plunged deeply into the fathomless ocean of material sorrow and grief. I shall transcend this world of Maya and go to the spiritual world only by faithfully following all these self-imposed vows every day. And the only way I will get the strength to follow these vows is by attaining the mercy of all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. May their causeless mercy and soft-hearted compassion, which wards off all illusion, become my exclusive friend and guide for all time everlasting. And then the 13th verse is where he blesses us. So he says, this is called the Falshruti, the benediction of eternal service gained by reading this stava or hearing this stava. So he says, this stava named Sri Niyama Dwadaskam was written by someone to adjust and regulate his own personal mode of performing bhajan. If any other devotee happens to chant this stava or hear this stava with a very special quality of resolute faith, fully offering his mind unto, number one, the supreme beautiful forms of the divine couple, Sri Sri Radha Kalachandji, his most dear possession. Number two, or to the divine beauty of their deity form. Or three, to the beauty of Sri Gaura Sundara, the combined form of Sri Sri Radha Kalachandji. Or to Srila Rupa Goswami, the dearmost beloved devotee of Sri Sri Radha Kalachandji and Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu, then that fortunate reader or hearer definitely attains his own place of eternal residence in Sri Brajadham. Always following behind his own Manjari Guru in his own spiritual body as of Manjari, he finally renders all kinds of variegated eternal service for the exclusive worship of Sri Sri Radha Kalachandji. Thus ends the Niyama Dwadaskam of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, his last writing. So this sums up the life of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He was such a great devotee. A pastime comes to mind where one day he was traveling from one town to another town with his son, who became, for us, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and they were sitting at the strange train station and he passed out. And so when he came back to again, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur asked him, what happened to you? How come you passed out? He said, well, what happened was that in Brahmaloka, Lord Brahma was giving a class from the Bhagavad Gita on that verse from Bhagavad Gita in the 9th chapter that talks about how even if a devotee commits the most abominable action, he should be considered saintly if he is properly situated. So he's giving a talk on that verse. And generally, when anybody gives a talk like that in Brahmaloka, there's sort of pin drop silence. Everybody hears with rapt attention what the speaker is saying. And Lord Brahma was personally giving the class on this day. But murmuring was happening in the audience. So Lord Brahma realized that the explanation he was giving to that verse was not satisfactory. It was not satisfying the audience. So he got off the Vyasasana and he asked Lord Shiva to speak. He called Lord Shiva and he had Lord Shiva speak on that verse. So Lord Shiva spoke, then after a while again there was murmuring in the audience. So Lord Shiva realized that the audience was not fully happy. So he got off the seat. And then the two of them consulted with one another, and Lord Shiva told him, I have the person who will do this job perfectly. So he came to planet Earth and he took Bhaktivinoda Thakur to Brahmaloka. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur gave the class on the verse. And there was pin drop silence. This is Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Not an ordinary person at all. Just amazing, amazing person. So today is his appearance day. Whenever there is the appearance day or disappearance day of any person, that person wants to shower upon us the best of all blessings. So today we should pray to Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, to Srila Haridas Thakur, like that. Of course, today is Srila Chandramauli Maharaj. And yesterday was Gopal Krishna Maharaj. Tomorrow is Bhakti Charu Maharaj's appearance also. We pray to these personalities. Please bless us so that we may follow in your footsteps and truly please Sri Sri Radha Kalachandji and their associates and Srila Prabhupada and the acharyas and all of the devotees. This is the purpose of our life. And today is a very, very auspicious day because so many things are happening just around this day that it shows, it's an indication from Kalachandji, and that's the confirmation, that ding is the confirmation, that it's an extra special day today. Let's take advantage of this day and be very Krishna conscious. Always pray to our deities and the devotees that we always remain Krishna conscious 24/7 all throughout our lives, and that the Lord always engages in whatever service He wants to, in wherever He wants to, in whatever life form that He wants us. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. I'm going to ask if any of you'd like to say something or ask any question. 8:44.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you for a very nice class.
Thank you,
I had
ma'am.
a question.
Yes.
So you mentioned one of the points